Yeah.
Alright.
Okay. So this is Metroid Prime 2 Echoes for the Nintendo GameCube.
That's one out of the way.
Yeah.
Don't worry, there's many more to go.
I'm E-Dragon.
And Maelstrom?
I'm Eagle.
Okay. So right at the start I'm going to do the biggest sequence break in this game, which we call Island Lost Skip. So what's supposed to happen is that you go along this path and then you see Dark Samus going through a portal and then you follow her. And you land in the Dark Ether. And yeah, there are the ink waiting for you and wrecking you down, and you lose all your items.
Generally a pretty bad time.
And yeah, and the items you lose are Space Jump, Missiles, Boost Ball, Bombs, and Spider Ball. So that's quite a lot. And we are just going to skip all of that by going out of bounds. So first of all I have to reload this room to be consistent. And now I'm going to walk very close next to this door. And what that does is, it makes the game think that I'm still in the room back there. So what that does is that the game doesn't calculate any repositioning with collision in the room I'm actually in. So if I morph there, I get stuck in the wall. And by holding a certain direction, which is down right, I keep spinning and increase my rotational speed exponentially. And if I do this for 50 seconds, then I get an overflow and get a glitch that we call infinite speed. And infinite speed is a very, very real glitch. No one really understands how it works, why it works. But there's one important property that we are going to abuse, and that is if you boost with infinite speed, then you hit like almost everything that is currently loaded. And we want to hit a certain cutscene trigger which will lead us out of bounds. However, there's also a second cutscene trigger, and if we hit that, then we crash the game. So I want to boost again, like between two crates, to avoid hitting the second cutscene trigger. All right, that looks good.
Nice.
Sweet.
That was good.
That places him out of bounds for a bit.
Yeah. And the way out of bounds works is that every room is inside of a box. Inside of the box, everything is normal, but outside of the box is something we call ether. And you can stand on ether, as you can see. You also float upwards very slowly, however you can't jump inside the ether. But there is a property we can abuse, and that is if you transition from air to ether, then you have a 3-frame window to jump. And we call that an ether jump, and that is basically the main way how we get height out of bounds.
It's going to be a fair bit out of bounds throughout the run.
Yep. So another thing you see him doing a lot is also scan dashing, where you lock onto a target with the scan visor, and then you can dash sideways and let go of pretty much everything, and you'll kind of fly off to the side with more speed than you normally would have. And that lets you clear a lot of gaps. It also lets us kind of get across rooms while out of bounds a lot easier. You don't have to worry about falling down and climbing back up again.
So not only does he have all the items he would normally lose, but he's also going to get a couple of items very, very early. Like he's about to get a power bomb tank in just a second, which also opens up a lot of the game very early on.
So I mean, already at this point, because we did item loss skip, there's already a lot of items that we have that really help with exploration.
Oh, that's very good.
Things like space jump and bombs.
So here it jumped against the slope, and we call that a gator jump. By jumping against the slope, you gain more height, and you can reach places you're not supposed to, like going out of bounds here. And yeah, now I will get the power bomb expansion in the next room. Luckily I placed it so that you can grab it out of bounds.
It's very convenient. So another thing you'll see him doing as well when traveling out of bounds is jumping on the doors, and that's to make, so the game can only think you're in one room at a time, and by jumping on the door you basically tell the game that, okay, we're now in this other room. You have to be very careful when doing that, because the game can't actually have more than 2 rooms loaded in most cases at a time, otherwise it will crash. So you have to be very careful about unloading and loading rooms correctly.
So now I'm heading towards Aegon, and I have to go out of bounds there because there's a Violet translator lock before that. So yeah.
Yeah, normally you would go get a translator scan thing. He's not going to bother doing that, so just bypass the door this one.
The general rule in Echoes is if there's something you have to do, you can usually skip it by going out of bounds.
Yeah, you can skip almost everything in this game. Low percent is 6%.
Yeah. But then that's kind of slightly misleading because the game doesn't count the items you have from skipping item loss as percentages.
Right.
So it's really more than 6 items, but it's 6% that you collect in the game.
Sort of the point of the game is to collect all the ink keys so you can access the final boss. And in order to get all those ink keys, he needs a couple of items. He mainly needs, well, he grabs light beam, dark beam, mainly to open doors, right?
You need 2 beams.
Right.
You need 2 beams so you can open all the doors. You
And
also
then
need
he needs screw attack, and he needs
the main power bombs.
the main power bombs
Because there's a
otherwise,
trigger. Yeah.
for some reason, one of the keys don't show up until you get the main power bomb tank.
And then you also need light suit and dark visor for getting access to some keys.
Right. So that's sort of
The
what
6
he's getting
items.
at right now. And the first order of business is to get light and dark beam in
Aegon.
Aegon, yeah.
Yeah. So it's time for a quick donation now if you have one.
Yes, so we have $10 from Shitsy93 saying, "Save the children," and hello there. We also have a $5 donation from Pav saying, "Just like yesterday, Turilla Tavatan." And a last one from Anonymous donating 10 saying, "Hi from Dangobas, have a great time."
So kind of similar to other Metroid games, you know, it's based on the world is connected in several different areas. The first area is Temple Grounds, where you start the game. And this is the kind of first intended main area, which is Aegon Wastes. And like Igor mentioned earlier, we'll be getting Light and Dark Beam here. This is also where you would get Dark Suit if you complete it completely, but we don't actually need Dark Suit because Light Suit overrides Dark Suit and is better in every way.
He's doing a small detour here in order to get an energy tank.
Yeah.
That's very essential for a wall crawl later, where he'll take a lot of damage. So ideally you want to collect a fair bit of energy to be able to do this wall crawl and skip a lot of the game.
So something we haven't seen yet in the game, but is a pretty major part of it, is this entire world is split into 2 worlds, the Light World and the Dark World. Kind of similar to Link to the Past style system, but you can only travel between them at specific portals. And the issue with the Dark World is while in it, you constantly take damage, unless you have the Light Suit. And so everything we do before getting the Light Suit in the Dark World is not only kind of determined by how much health you have, but also kind of on a timer because you can't stay alive infinitely in the Dark World.
So I saved there in the save station because later on there can be a crash. And here I'm trying to lure this Sand Digger into this corner because that can throw me out of bounds.
So there's a very specific setup he's doing to try and get the Sand Digger in the right place. And then the Sand Digger's animation for throwing you is always the same no matter where the Sand Digger is. So if you are in the correct position, it'll throw you straight out of bounds.
That looks good.
Yeah,
All right,
nice.
that's very good. Echoes is kind of notorious for having a lot of ways to go out of bounds.
And crashing a lot.
Crashing a lot too.
One of these things we like to have in the speedrun, the other one not so much.
Yeah. I don't actually know if we do it particularly throughout this run, but once he gets screw attack, he can go out of bounds pretty much anywhere where there's a mothball tunnel
Yeah, it's
because
used a
of the
couple
way
of
it works.
times. There's a couple of places where that's used in the run.
Right.
So kind of another thing you might notice that when he's trying to kind of climb up these walls from out of bounds, he's kind of staying still for a little bit on the floor, and that's because you can only actually jump out of the floor of a room every so often. And so he'll just be manually waiting to get the jump to be able to start the wall up.
Poor pirate.
Yeah. They're just doing their job, man.
Normally you'd have to fight a lot of pirates to get into the base,
Yeah.
which we're just sort of skipping, walking around the trigger for it.
Yeah. And there's a lot of other things you kind of have to do along the way, which we thankfully skip by going out of bounds. That's a bit of an awkward room to transition because, like we said earlier, every room's in a box, and that box is the bounding box for the room's collision. So there, because the 2 doors are kind of offset from each other, the rooms kind of overlap, and it's a lot harder to try and get up to the right place. Ooh. Okay, he just needs to jump back up to the right height here, so he can get into the next door.
A little fun fact about this transition I'm going to do here. If you press R during this transition, then you crash the game.
Yep. We don't know why. It just does.
So upcoming is Dark Samus 1, which is the first boss fight. And you're not supposed to have power bombs yet, so you can just pretty much instant kill her with placing a power bomb.
It can also randomly crash, so hopefully that doesn't happen.
Phew. Okay.
Looks good so
yeah,
far.
No crash.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, so that's why I took the save station there, just in case the game crashes here, and so I don't have to do everything again.
Yeah.
And now we're going to get Dark Beam, and Dark Beam is very useful against enemies in the light world. Deals a lot of damage, and also there are a ton of enemies you can kill by using a charged Dark Beam shot and then a missile.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Ice Beam in other games in that respect, where you can freeze certain enemies with a charge shot and then destroy them with a missile.
So as Maelstrom mentioned earlier, we're soon going into the Dark World where we take much damage unless we're in the safe zone. Fortunately, the game is very kind to you when it comes to drops, in the sense that if you're low on health, you usually always, I think it's always, right?
It's not always.
If you're below 20% of your health, then you're almost guaranteed to get an Ultra energy
Right,
drop,
yeah.
which gives you 100 energy.
So the game sort of gauges how you're doing and distributes drops after that.
Nice.
So-
Little skip there just to get up on the top of that.
This section is not that dangerous overall.
Yeah. But if you pay attention to the health bar, when he's not in these like blue safe zones, it's actually dropping fairly significantly. And especially now, where he only has 300 total health, they can really add up in certain rooms.
The reason why I place a power bomb here is that we will revisit this room later on, because there's a Sky Temple key in here, so we don't have to blow it up later on.
Yeah, the game remembers if you've blown up that power bomb.
Also, I walked into this safe station from the side, and the reason for that is because I'm hitting the load trigger for the next room. So if I shoot this door, this room is already loaded then instantly.
Yeah, again, since the game only has 2 rooms loaded at a time, in most cases, there's a lot of optimizations to be done in terms of hitting load triggers early and making sure you start loading rooms fast enough so that you're not waiting at doors for ages. So in this room you have to scan these 3 pillars to open the door.
Yeah, and on this one you have to get close to scan it. Yeah, for the arrows you can stand like pretty much anywhere.
So again, here's just another scan dash to kind of get across this ledge without having to go around. And those kind of purple things, the purple claw things sticking up the wall that you kind of saw for a moment, they actually do quite heavy damage when you stand near them, so not going near them is generally a nice time. So another kind of ghetto jump here just to get up onto this pillar. Skips having to do some more stuff in the room. And now we have Light Beam.
So, just like Dark Beam is strong against anything in the light world, Light Beam is pretty strong against anything in the dark world. But we're not going to use it that much.
Also, another thing to note about Light and Dark Beam is that they have an ammo system. And every time you use a normal shot, it takes 1 ammo, and a charge shot takes 10 ammo, I think. Or is it 5? I'm not sure. But there are going to be a few times where he's going to be intentionally shooting kind of crates and things with 1 beam, because that increases the chance of getting ammo for the other beam. So if you destroy something with light ammo, you're more likely to get dark ammo back and vice versa. And so for some places, obviously, he'll need more 1 ammo than the other. And ammo management isn't too bad in this run, because even if you do run out, you can still fire the weapon by doing a charge shot, and it only comes out as a single shot, but that's not really a situation you really want to be in most cases. So that's pretty much everything we need from Aegon for now. We're now going to head over to Sanctuary Fortress, which is normally the 3rd main area you would go to, but we're skipping Torvus for now, because there's nothing we need in it at the moment, and we can get some more helpful things from Sanctuary first.
Yeah, the main point is to get screw attack now.
Yeah, well, the main idea is just to get Light Seed as soon as possible.
Right.
Which you need square attack to get.
There's a lot of difficult stuff coming up in Sky Sanctuary.
Yeah,
so.
there is.
Yeah.
It's a very complex area, especially in the speedrun. Pulling up those crazy eggs are pretty much guaranteed power bomb drop.
Which is needed because there's a glass tube here we have to pull out. Yeah.
The classic Metroid glass tube power
Yeah.
bomb.
So what I did here was something we call a roll shot. Basically, if you unmorph and shoot on the same frame, then yeah, you do both at the same time. And that can save some time here and there.
Yeah, and it's unique to Echoes, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can't do it in Prime or in Corruption.
Yeah.
And you can do it with missiles as well instead of normal shots. That's usually a costly mistake if you do it wrong, because it is frame perfect. If you do it wrong, you'll normally get a bomb for a roll shot, but if you do it with a missile, you'll waste a power bomb, and that's generally not a good thing to do.
So that room is really well designed.
Yeah.
Yeah, similar to how you do ILS, you can go out of bounds here.
Yeah, there's just a gap in the collision when your game thinks you're on the wrong room. And here he's kind of walking into the void where the next room is, because it lets him skip a puzzle, because he can do this. There it is, the boost lock, basically when the room's unloaded, and then head to the room, and it skips the puzzle and skips having to go around the room.
Right. So there's sort of a notorious room coming up soon.
So he's going to do a roll jump here, which is where, for 21 frames after you leave the ground, if you get an instant unmorph for either having collision in the way or doing like a bomb jump, you can jump again.
Looks good.
Yeah. And so you can do that to jump across this room without having to get grapple or screw attack.
Right, the game just assumes you came from the other side, I suppose.
Yeah.
As you made it so far.
Yeah, so basically you hit the trigger that swaps the side for the terminal fall, and you respawn on this side of the room. Normally you can't get across that room that way until you have screw attack. You have to go through the dark world and then come back out using grapple.
Alright, so Grand Abyss.
Not yet.
No,
Not
I'm
yet.
doing the
We got the
puzzle
portal
first.
first.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can't
you
remember
will.
if you did it
Puzzle
first or after.
Yeah, so we need to unlock this portal, because you'll come back out of here later, and if it's locked, then you get stuck. I think it's actually a soft lock if you go through the portal from the other side without opening the gate.
So
there's
now
not-
to Grand Abyss.
Yeah. So we'll explain this after.
Almost.
That's really unfortunate.
So that trick is one time only, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So
Very first time you cross that kind of threshold into the room, the robots move and they never spawn again in the same place. Like even if you saved and reloaded the save, they wouldn't spawn again. You can only do it from a save you do before Grand Abyss.
it saves a lot of time, so it's something you want to go for. But I mean, if you end up failing it, what you have to do is you have to go back a little bit, and then you have to go out of bounds, and then we can cross Great Abyss from out of bounds
Yeah.
and get to screw attack that way.
Yeah, the room after Grand Abyss is Vault where Screw Attack's located, and that's...
Oh.
Yeah, you missed it. That's the reason why we're doing this trick, to get Screw Attack. And unfortunately he did miss the trick, so he has to do the walk roll. So he'll be just heading back to the room he got out of bounds in earlier and doing the out of bounds again.
There's also another room you can go out of bounds to, they're just closer, but
It's a much
the
more
secret
annoying.
world is pretty stupid.
Yeah, it's a much more annoying out of bounds. It involves like bouncing off an enemy's head. It's kind of random and
Oh yeah, I've
frustrating.
seen that before.
Yeah, it's one of the weirder ones, but it's very inconsistent. So actually that's something we haven't seen yet, is just standing on the skywalk. So like we mentioned, every room's in a box. And although it makes sense you stand on the bottom, you can also stand on the very top of the box and walk along the top, and we call that the skywalk. And you'll see that a few times in this walk roll. And generally, it's not nice to be on the skywalk than it is to be just in the ether inside of the room, because it means that if you misjudge the edge of the room, you're not going to fall down to the bottom and have to climb back up again. So crossing this next room from out of bounds is kind of tricky because its box is enormous. It extends really far down, really far up, and really far to the sides. And so here he's going to try and scan dash to the ether from this ledge. That's good. Nice, okay. So that stops him falling down, and it takes like a significantly longer amount of time to climb back up the room.
Yeah, so now I have to just ether jump all the way up to the skywalk. You could also potentially wall crawl like around and do some weird jumps, but that is not so consistent, so I just want to get past Grand Abyss now.
Yeah. You also have to be really careful that you don't accidentally hit the low trigger if you don't go up to the top for the Grand Abyss. Because the thing with Grand Abyss is the terminal fall trigger at the bottom of the room is always active. And it's a very big room, so if you crawl around from the ether and fall down, you're going to hit the terminal fall trigger and respawn back in bounds.
So now I'm looking up my position with the map, just to line up to a certain point, so I can drop down. That should be fine.
Yeah, looks okay. Yeah.
Oh, wait, what?
Ooh.
What?
Uh-oh.
Where the hell am I? Okay, you can jump here.
Damn. Wow. Okay, that was scary. Okay, so here he's abusing another fact of being out of bounds is that...
What the hell?
Whoa.
Okay, that's somehow pretty scary now.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I should be safe
Okay.
now.
Yeah, so as I was starting to say, certain pieces of geometry are like sticky on the back, we call it. And it means like you get kind of stuck in them, as you might guess. And so you see here he's kind of bomb jumping along the backside of this kind of rock face. And that's because it's sticky and it allows him to just kind of get along this way without having to relay to other methods. So here he'll just be trying to hit the terminal fall trigger for the other side of the room, which will switch it back so that when he falls down, he'll land back on the correct side of the room he wants to be on and be able to go into vault and get screw attack. That seems good. Nice.
All
okay.
right.
Right. Ah, very good.
Yeah.
That's a pretty hard dash. And it skips a trip into Dark Wall, basically.
Yeah, and the trip into Dark World isn't actually possible at the moment because it involves a puzzle using grapple beam.
Right.
So we wouldn't be able to do that even if you wanted to. So it's time for a very quick donation now.
Hi guys, so listener donated $10 saying, "Hello lovely gamers, keep on gaming and don't forget to hug each other and make love. I would love a DSX1 speedrun if possible. Many greetings to Saunus, Fragpointer and Spence." $10 from Shitsy93 saying, "Save the children and hey there Ella." $5 from Pave1 saying, "Just like yesterday, Turilla Tavatan."
Okay, so now we have screw attack, and as mentioned earlier, screw attack lets us do a lot of things. Not only does it let us cross Grand Abyss without shenanigans, which is nice, but it also lets us go out of bounds in several places, it damages enemies significantly, and lets us do a lot of neat movement tricks as well.
Here I'm doing a little detour, and the reason for that is because for the trick later on where I need a lot of energy, I'm going to get another tank just to be safer. It is possible to do it with only 3 E-tanks, but it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty long walk crawl you have to do out of bounds in Dark Wall, and you take a lot of damage, and it's kind of scary, especially if you fail to eat a jump a couple of times in a row.
Yeah. And there aren't that, well, there isn't any safe spots you can stand in during the walk roll either. So once you started, you're
And the idea behind that wall crawl is to skip the boss of Sanctuary Fortress. And by skipping it, I mean, the game doesn't really check anything in terms of killing the boss. So basically, you go get the Sanctuary energy, and that's really all you need in order to get Light Suit.
So just like, to get this E-tank, there's a couple of small things. You can do a free BSJ up to the spinable kind of thing. It doesn't, like, it's not meant to be possible, but it is like just not possible. And then you can stand on the top, which is also probably not meant to be possible.
Probably not.
And then there's just like a tiny ledge you can stand on near the tank that you can then morph and hold spinable, and you grab onto the spider track to get the energy tank. You also might wonder, like, why don't we kill the boss of Sanctuary Fortress? Like, do we not need the item? But the item it drops is Annihilator Beam, which we never need in the run. There's only a few Annihilator doors in the game. We don't have to go through any of them. And it's not really that great. It's a cool beam, but it's not necessary.
I was about to say it helps on one boss, but I guess that doesn't apply to this.
No.
No, not this ride. We'll get to that later.
So now we're just heading back up into Upper Sanctuary to be able to do the quad skip walk roll. It looks okay on health amount, I think. Yeah, you can get a couple of drops here from these pads.
Oh, that's really good.
Yeah, that's nice. Okay, here we go. So why don't you Dragon focus on this wall brawl and then explain a couple of things after it's happened?
I'm fine.
Okay,
Alright, good.
nice.
So that's really, really scary.
Yeah. So, most of that wall crawl is stuff we've already kind of explained already, but the one thing is, just to get back in bounds at the end, he did something called a ceiling warp, which is where if you bomb jump on the ceiling of a room you're not loaded into, and then unmorph, the game kind of drops you through the ceiling into the room. And that's how he got back in bounds now. And like we said, Screw Attack's pretty good. If you didn't have Screw Attack, you would have to then... I'm not sure if you're stuck or if you have to then just go fight quad afterwards.
There's an annihilator door there, so
Okay,
you
yeah,
would have
so-
to fight quad before that.
You're right.
Yeah. So you're pretty stuck if you don't have a Screw Attack. And that's the main reason you get it before doing that wall crawl.
Yeah, here I have to wait until this room is loaded, and it takes quite a while.
Yeah, it's a big room, so it takes quite a while to load in.
Okay.
So earlier he opened a gate to a different portal, which is where he's heading right now.
Yeah.
So he can go back to the light wall.
Also, another thing is that now we have screw attack. Out of bounds gets a little bit more scary because if you screw attack when out of bounds, you're pretty much gonna do something horrible to yourself. Because if you screw attack when out of bounds and you don't hit collision, you'll fall forever, and that's a soft lock. And if you screw attack into certain sticky surfaces as well, it doesn't collide with you. You'll just keep spinning into the wall forever. And that's again a soft lock. So have to be a bit more careful with these that are now.
Okay, so now I made it past this part, so I'm pretty happy now. Yeah.
A lot of the really scary stuff's out of the way now, which is really good.
Sanctuary is definitely like a really complex area.
Yeah. And especially doing Grand Abyss route, like there's so many things that can kill your run really early on. So now that we've...
I'm going to save first.
Okay, sure.
Good idea.
That's, yeah. Yeah, so basically now that we've skipped Quadractus and gained the energy from Sanctuary Fortress, the game effectively thinks we've beaten Sanctuary Fortress, and it thinks that because we've beaten Sanctuary Fortress, we've also beaten Aegon Wastes and Torvus Bog. So now we can return the Sanctuary energy and go get Light 2, which normally isn't until after you beat all 3 area bosses, but the game only checks the last one, which is very convenient. Also, for those of you who know probably a bit more about this game, we never actually collected the energy transfer module either. Again, not needed, it's just an item that doesn't do anything. That kind of little weird jump he did when scanning the post was just to try and hit the load trigger for that room a little earlier, which we got.
Okay, so for this little mini quad, you want to kill the body first, because if you destroy the head first, then just a new one will respawn from the top. And if you damage the head like just so it's almost dead, then you can destroy the head before it puts up a shield.
And that shield gets kind of annoying because it's a light shield or dark shield, and then you have to attack the opposite element. Which means it's then impervious to things like power beam and missiles, which more would you want to use. So another thing here is, because we've done things out of order, we've never actually been to this like the Sanctuary Energy site before. We're going to scan this post now, which activates the cutscene, and then you can scan it again and get Cobalt Translator.
No, I already got Cobalt Translator.
Oh, never mind.
Okay, this room is loaded.
Yeah, so there's one final out-of-bounds trip in Sky Sanctuary to set up a glitch that'll be useful later. I guess we can just explain it when
It's
pops
useful
up.
a lot of places.
Sure.
Just later. Yeah, so basically he's going to set up something called Morph Pool Invulnerability now, which, as the name might suggest, you are invulnerable when in Morph Pool. But specifically it uses the cannon and unloading the room at a specific time, so that the game always thinks you're in a cannon. And as long as you never take a cannon again, the game thinks you're always in a cannon, so you are invulnerable when morphed, and you also deal cannonball damage, which, if you you sometimes fly through random bats and stuff when you fire from a cannon, it kind of kills them. It's like 5,000 or 50,000 damage per frame, I can't remember which. But it's a lot, and you might think like, okay, that's really useful. Well, it's only really useful in like one place, but it's very useful in that place. So here he's kind of using the sticky side to be able to scan the post. He's going to climb back up and transition the room back onto a pod's room. And then that'll, so this room with the cannon in won't be the active room, it'll still be loaded. And then he'll use the cannon when the room is not active, and it will unload the room while he's in the cannon. And then we'll activate MBI. So again, that's another example of the ceiling wall. It's a little more obvious there because you can kind of see the flame triggers on. So you go fire out the cannon, the room unloads. And now MBI is active. And the invulnerability is from any damage. That includes if he's in the Dark World in that dark light suit, he can then roll around in Morph Ball and not take any damage from the Dark World.
Since we're getting light soon, soon though, that doesn't really
Yeah, it doesn't really
matter.
apply. But it is a nice side effect.
Sure.
So now we're heading back to Temple Grounds, and we don't want to go out the front of Sanctuary because that's slow. And we can't go via Torvis because there's a block in the way, so we have to go backtrack all the way back through Aegon the way we came originally. But that also means we'll be getting Amber Translator on the way.
So the reason he did the ghetto jump to the screw attack there was because the spider track on the wall doesn't actually work.
Yeah, it's a spider track, but it's not a real spider track until you beat Spider Guardian and get main Spider Ball.
But this one works perfectly fine.
Yeah,
for some
well,
reason.
it's like, that's one of the, I think that's the only one in the game that's like that.
Right.
There might be one or two more. But the vast majority of spider tracks work. So it's probably time for a quick donation now if you have one. So this room has some cannons in it, but he won't be using them because that would deactivate MBI, and that's not a good thing we want to do. So he'll just be screw attacking across the room. Luckily, it is possible to screw attack across this room. It's not mandatory to use the cannons. Otherwise, that would be kind of sucky.
What the?
Nice. Okay.
So this one I have to scan twice because there's an overlay. Messed it up.
Yeah, so there's sort of two scan points overlapping one another, so
Yeah.
you need to scan a very specific spot to make sure you get the translator and not the same cutscene once again. And that's because the game is very, very confused about your progress through the game right now.
Yeah. Only the translator layer is triggered by, I think it's killing Jump Guardian in Aegon's case. And since we haven't even seen Jump Guardian, I think it's just like, oh, well, now what?
We'll sort of pass by him later.
Yeah. Also, this is Bomb Guardian. Good fight. Because we already have multiple bombs, we can just bomb the glass and run away. And the reason Amber Translator is picked up is because if you want to leave Aegon, there's an Amber Translator in the way. So not picking it up would make it kind of pretty hard to proceed.
So here again I'm using screw attack to just get it out of bounds. If I do it right. There we go.
So yeah, like mentioned earlier, you can screw attack into any hole that's morphable sized because screw attack uses morphable collision, and then you can stand up and get out of bounds in most places. So now we've finally completed our grand tour of the planet Ether, heading into Torvis Park. So we can finally go and get Light 2.
Yeah, and I had to do this Valkor Hill because there was the secret lock and we don't have secret metals yet, so we have to wall crawl it around. And here again we have to go out of bounds because of a secret lock.
Yeah, a lot of the connections between areas are locked by items that you're going to get in the later of the two areas, but in pretty much all cases you can just walk all around them one way or the other.
Yeah, there's no real collision at the top of the room there, so it just sort of jumps out of bounds.
Yep.
So this is a fun part.
Yeah.
I'm triggering a pirate fight now, and now I have to do it at events. You can snipe those pirates down. That's dead.
And that cutscene trigger puts you back in bounds, so you don't have to worry about getting back in bounds in this case. And this also gives you this super missiles, which is pretty convenient. Oops.
That's kind of a common mistake. You want to press start to sort of skip the item get cutscene, but usually, well, sometimes you accidentally press start a bit too soon. Pause screen instead.
Yeah. It's very easy to be like 1 or 2 frames early, so there's quite a bit of delay between getting the item and skipping the cutscene.
So we've sort of been going backwards to Taurus, so the game...
I'm
Well,
going to save here.
You're
now.
gonna save first, right? But as soon as you get back, the game sort of greets you to the area, because that's the way you would normally enter Taurus from.
Yeah, it's the first time you cross the cutscene trigger. Welcome to Taurus, see you later.
So now we are finally getting to temple grounds, and the reason why we picked up Ember Translator before is coming up right in the next room, because there's an Ember Translator gate here. You can skip it by doing a trick we call Hive Dash, which is going out of bounds here, and dashing off one of those hives here, but it's very annoying and not really a matter for safe.
And there's the super missile door with the super missile as well. Again, you could technically walk all around it, but that would involve doing Hive Dash, and it's generally a bad time. Oh yeah, see that Amber Translator gate? It's not actually an Amber Translator gate. So this is the kind of like last stop on our detour to go get Light 2, and we're getting Seeker missiles. This is kind of needed in a couple of places. It's kind of one of those things that's technically skippable, but a lot faster to use. Now the interesting part is getting back out of this room. Because taking that secret dock at the bottom doesn't really get you anywhere helpful. So he's going to get into the morphball tunnel. A couple of ways you can do this.
I'm trying it backwards now.
Yeah. You can either
Almost.
screw attack into it and then morph, or you can jump backwards into it and again use the morphing
There we
functionality.
go.
So lets you escape the room and generally go back to where we want to go, which was towards temple, the sanctuary. What's the main temple?
So the reason why I dropped down here is to make this room over there start loading. And now I want to screw attack into this room. Alright.
Okay, nice.
It's one of the places where you could potentially soft lock if you don't get inside.
Yeah.
Because then you're just screw attacking out of bounds and yeah, you're absolutely screwed.
Falling forever.
So here there's also something blocking the way and we have to go out of bounds to go around that. Okay.
So this is kind of similar to the out of bounds in Sanctuary, where it's
What's
just like
that?
if you're on the wrong room, there's a kind of gap in the collision that you can fall through. But it's quite precise. There we go.
There we go, yeah.
I don't know how far I fell there. Oh,
Oh,
that is
quite far.
not good.
Well,
So we have to wait until I float all the way up because the game didn't let me unmorph immediately.
yeah. So
that's
this
kinda
is kind of the thing with being in out of bounds, is that if you morph, you'll fall forever because normal physics always apply. And so you can fall below the box and then have to wait until the game pushes you up into the bottom of the box to be able to jump up. It shouldn't take that long. It's probably a minute or so. But unfortunately, there's nothing we can do here except wait. So now would be a great time for donations or a plug, something.
Oh.
This was, yeah.
Whoa.
I don't know what that was.
It's like a wake-up call.
All right. So apparently, like, this was not pretty good. We don't have any donations right now, but well, we want to take this opportunity to just tell everyone that if you donate, everything's just being amplified by 10, and it's actually perfect cause. It's like for charity. Could donate. As well, we'd like to thank our sponsors. For example, Mercedes, who do a great job at like providing the equipment for transport stuff, and also the Tracer for providing the chairs for our PC runners, as well as PlayerMe for providing the gaming laptops the runners are using. You can actually find all of ESA's social media in one place by signing up on PlayerMe, using the link in chat if Mod is actually posting it. And also, shoutouts to Gaming for Good for creating the donation tracker we are actually using this event. It's available for everyone to utilize on their own in the future. So if you want to do your own own charity events, go ahead and do that in the future, because this system is really amazing.
So unfortunately, we're still floating a little bit. Where the box is the bounding box for the collision, and there isn't that much below the elevator in this room, it doesn't really extend very far downwards, although you can see the geometry. It's actually the player collision that matters. Unfortunately, this is one of those things that can just kind of happen with any out of bounds in any of the free prime games.
Okay.
Okay, finally.
There we go.
Yay. We're free. Okay.
Alright, so that transition here is kind of awkward, but there's a setup for it and it worked out.
Yeah. Like the trigger is just in a kind of funky place.
Also, this is supposed to be the first boss fight on Alpha Sprinter, but well, we have space jump, so we can just jump over the fence there. So finally we get Violet Translator and the light suit.
And it's totally not too immersive, don't worry about it.
Which is seeing things, yeah. So in addition to being able to survive everything in the Dark World, basically, it also allows you to warp between the energy transfer modules. So he's going to go straight to Torva's Temple.
Even though he's never actually been to Torva's Temple.
Yeah.
So now we have Light Suit. The last things we need to get are main power bombs and Dark Visor for collecting the keys, and then it's on to collecting the 9 Sky Temple keys. And since main power bombs are in Dark Torvus, we're going to be spending a lot of the time here. And also Dark Visors in Torvus as well.
So you saw how I brought up the scan visor after shooting a super missile, and the reason for that is that you reduce the cooldown of shooting a super missile just by bringing up the scan visor. So I can shoot the door earlier.
Yeah, normally there's quite a period of time where you can't do anything after shooting a super missile.
So here I'm trying to get a trick we call air underwater. Basically, if you enter a water box, the ram you unmorph, then you can screw attack underwater.
Yeah, this is a frame perfect trick at 60 frames a second. It's not that easy to hit.
Almost. There we go.
Nice. So not only does it allow you to screw attack, but it also changes so there's no like graphical effect from being underwater. So you can see everything pretty clearly. Sometimes. It's a bit weird. So heading down to the bottom of Torvus here to get gravity boost, which lets you have normal movement underwater.
Yeah, it's basically this game's version of the gravity suit. Oh, there's a hard boss coming up now.
Yeah, really hard boss. Are you gonna go for the thing?
I will try it one time. If I don't get it, then
Alright.
didn't get it. So you can get air underwater here as well, and then you can kill F-hop block immediately with screw attacking it.
So we're just gonna go up here and get a more advantageous position and then run away.
Yeah, normally you're supposed to beat the boss and a platform spawns so you can make it to the top of that. But since we have that extra boost from the bomb by using this technique, we're able to get to that platform during the boss by yourself and just escape, which is very convenient.
Yep. So we'll be collecting the Dark Torvus keys as well as the Sky Temple keys in Torvus to be able to gain access to this area's boss, which is Chicker. Since Chicker is the enemy that gives us the Dark Visor, which is mandatory for being in the game. But first we have Power Bomb Guardian. He throws power bombs at you, but we have MBI, so he can't actually damage us at all. This is kind of like a puzzle boss. You have to kind of go to these, you'll use these spider tracks to get to these 4 bomb slots to deplete his health. It's a pretty interesting fight. Small thing you're seeing him doing is kind of boosting off the edge of a spider track, because when you kind of get to the edge, instead of just being vertical on the spider track, you can kind of push around the edge a little bit, and then you can boost in a more convenient direction, like onwards.
So as mentioned earlier, the reason we actually kill this particular Guardian is because one of the keys don't actually show up until we grab the main powerbomb tank,
Yeah,
which is what you get here.
It's actually the one in the room where we placed the powerbomb earlier. For some reason, you can destroy that wall, but the key doesn't actually show up until after you have main powerbombs.
So here I'm going to take a quick refill with ammo, because it's pretty fast there.
Yeah, so again, as mentioned earlier, by killing enemies with dark beam, you get light ammo, and light beam, you get dark ammo, and there's a lot of enemies there that you can kill with like 1 shot of each, and they give you pretty high drop rates for ammo. Alright then, the next thing we're doing is getting the next, well, the other 2 Dark 12 keys, so we can go fight Chica. And then we'll have dies and we'll have everything we need to be able to beat the game. So dropping that gate removes it in both the level and the Dark Vault, which means you can use this portal to get to the next temple key.
So this room is going to take quite a while until it's loaded, and that's because there's a boss in this room, Boost Guardian, but we already have Boost Balls, so we don't need to fight him.
Yeah, but like the boss fight and the associated cutscenes make the room quite a bit larger, so it takes a while to load. So that's the second Dark 12th key. There's just one more before we can head to Chica.
Yeah, the last one is basically right in front of the temple itself, so it's
Very convenient.
very convenient, yeah.
Also, another thing that's kind of worth mentioning is that a lot of people who played this casually probably remember there's a lot of pirate spawns in certain rooms. Those pirate spawns are actually caused by getting grapple beam. We call them grapple pirates. And since we never got grapple beam in this run, we'll never actually see those pirate spawns. So a few rooms are a lot nicer to get through than they would be normally. Now it's time for Chica. This fight has two phases. The first phase is this lava phase. It's in the water. He wants to scan it because it has a weak point on his stomach, which you can't aim at without scanning. Also, since this is dark water, we'd have the dark visor, you can stand on the water surface, and you don't take any damage because you have light suit. Which means the whole platforming part of this fight becomes a lot less of a thing than it would be. So as Eagle alluded to earlier, this is the one fight where an Iodine Beam would be really helpful because it does a lot of damage to Chica, but you can do a lot of damage with well-placed missiles and Dark Beam shots.
He also just barely has enough ammo for this part of the fight. So that would normally make the second part a bit tricky,
Yeah.
because he'd be low on ammo, but fortunately
Pay
we've
very
taken,
close attention.
we've taken care of that.
Come on. There we go.
And he's dead.
Basically, the boss touched him in morph form, and that's
Yep.
bad news for the boss right now.
So as mentioned earlier, due to morph vulnerability, you do cannonball damage, and it's a very high amount of damage per frame. And Chica is not immune to that type of damage, and so if you touch Chica with the morph ball, it instantly dies. That only applies to the second phase, not the first phase. But that fight is normally really long otherwise, and is a huge draw on things like missiles.
It's a pretty ammo-heavy boss if you're gonna fight it normally.
Yeah.
So here is supposed to return their energy, but you can also skip it by just reloading the room.
Yep. So there's basically the room's locked until you return the energy, but the game doesn't actually check if you triggered the cutscene to remove the lock, it just waits for the room to be reloaded.
And I mean, the Torvus energy at this point in the game doesn't really matter at all.
Yeah.
As long as you got the Sanctuary one, the game basically considers you sort of done with that part of the game.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't do anything, even if you were to grab it.
Normally what it would do is, when you return the energy, you would then get the translator, which lets you get into Sanctuary. But since we've already got Light Suit and all the translators, it doesn't matter. So now we have Dark Visor, so not only can you now see these ink caches, which have the Sky Temple keys in them, you can also fall into Dark Water now, which is not possible until you have the Dark Visor.
It's not?
No.
I thought it was just light suit.
Yeah, you need light suit
Oh,
to
is it light suit?
go underwater.
Oh, never mind.
But yeah, even if he could go underwater, it wouldn't have mattered, because he needs Dark Visor to see the ink caches.
Yeah, it's not even just they straight up don't spawn until you have Dark Visor.
They are actually there, but you can't deal any damage to them.
Yeah.
And you really need to put up Dark Visor to deal any damage.
Here's another very simple out of bounds as well.
Yeah. So this
Yeah.
wall's totally here. Don't worry about it.
This is my favorite out of bounds in this game.
It's pretty great.
You do a small ghetto jump off a little rock, and that pushes you high enough that, well, the game developers apparently didn't really want to fill in the collision there.
There seems to be a common theme with this game. There's a lot of holes that shouldn't probably be there.
So it's like a small little shortcut, so you can get back to this part of light wall real quick.
Yeah, normally you have to go back to the portal no boost guardian that you used earlier, and that's a bit of a detour.
I'm just scanning this guy because I can.
You gotta do something to make elevators fun. So the reason he's coming back into Lower Torvus now is because there's a Sky Temple key here. And again, since we weren't here with Dark Visor earlier, we have to return to it.
Right, so every main area, the 3 main areas, Aegon, Torvus, and Sanctuary Fortress have 2 keys each.
Yep.
And the main temple grounds have 3.
Ooh. So you can screw attack into the wall and bonk into that thing, but it's pretty precise. It's not too bad if you miss it though, because this bomb slot opens the gate. And if anything, it's more annoying to go back and set up the screw attack again than it is to just do that, especially with gravity boost. Yeah, this game is the most restrictive out of the trilogy in terms of the kind of fetch quest at the end, since you can only get Sky Temple keys once you have Light Suit and Dark Visor in most cases. I think there's a couple you can get before getting Light Suit, but you need to be pretty much at the end of the game to get them, unlike Prime 1 and 3 where you can collect the artifacts or the energy cells as you go along.
So those guys is out there, they only move away if you shoot those beacons with light beam. Actually, power beam also works, but light beam holds twice as long.
Yeah.
They take about a while to move, so you can shoot some of them like through the gate, and it makes them, you know, be out of the way when you get to that point.
Yeah, doing that's pretty convenient. So now that he has both the temple keys from Torvus, it's on to the next area. So now heading to Sanctuary, and the reason you couldn't use this elevator earlier is because before doing the pirate fight for super missiles, there's just a massive block and collision in the way for this elevator, so you can't get through. And we didn't have secret missiles at that point either. So now it's time for a quick donation.
Alright, we have $10 from as well. Keep up the good work, guys. An amazing cause to support. And $5 from Blind Matrix. Good evening, ESA. This game is amazing. Good luck, E-Dragon, and hi, my stream, I guess. I miss Mobius Sam. Cheers from Sven.
Thanks, man.
You.
So there was a funny little graphic glitch earlier when you screw attack out of like one of those techniques.
BSJs.
Yeah.
Also, don't get confused here. What basically happens is that I just made this next room load, and that's actually the first time you're supposed to get into the Dark World, so it also introduces you to all this stuff here.
Yeah. Basically, whenever the first time that room loads in the Dark World, it plays the cutscene and warps you to that point.
Right.
So by loading it from the next room, you warp there and don't have to play yourself.
So here you would normally fight Jump Guardian. He's actually right there.
He's
E-Dragon just shot him a couple of times.
He's just asleep, don't worry about it.
Yeah. He's invisible until you trigger the fight.
But he's not immune to damage. You can damage him down to 1 HP, but you can't kill him before triggering the fight.
But that's not something we have to worry about in any percent at all.
So if you walk into the middle of this room to get the Aegon key, there's a fight that triggers, and it takes a while. So instead he's kind of jumping on the Inkclaw and then doing this kind of ghetto into screw attack to get up to this Incash here. Without having to cross the room normally. And now he can screw attack back across the cutscene trigger and not have to do the fight. Which is nice, because it's quite an annoying fight to do. So the other Sky Temple key in Aegon is the dark version of the Dark Summer Swan room. It's where he placed the power bomb earlier, and it's the one that doesn't spawn before you get main power bombs. So just heading over there now. And then that's Aegon, and it's onto Sanctuary. That was a nice looking roll shot.
Also, Metroid and the vulnerability is the reason why that door opened.
Yeah, since he does damage on contact with objects with the Morph Ball, that is able to open blue doors.
Wow, camera.
Okay, wait. What the hell?
Yeah, the camera gets kind of weird sometimes, and if you get stuck like that, then holding down will push you downwards, and holding up will push you downwards.
Yeah, there was like no way I could move away.
Yeah, luckily you can just reset it by just moving the camera back around. Basically what happens is when he morphed the game before, he was close enough to the other side that it put the camera on that side.
Right, so there's another out of bounds here, which is very convenient because it skips the entire Spider Guardian fight.
Yep.
Which is otherwise a very, very long and very, very boring fight.
Yep.
And we already have Spider Ball, so there's like absolutely no way we want to fight that.
Yep. So the Incash is in this room, and you don't have to actually use Spider-Man to get to it. You can just do a well-timed screw attack to get up enough height. So now we want to stay in Hive, which is known for the dark version of Sanctuary, and kind of walk around a bit. But to do that, we have to do some shenanigans with portals to reset the terminal fall in the room. So by exiting and re-entering the room, it resets the terminal 4 location to be on the other half of the room, which is the part you normally would be in, but that's where we want to go. And then by going out of bounds and heading to that terminal 4 trigger, you can fall down, skip the trigger for setting it to where you would normally be, and then it will put you in the default location, which is where we want to go.
Oh, that's very nice.
Should be good. Yeah,
Yeah,
very
fine.
nice. So unfortunately, the other Sky Temple Heat Sanctuary is in the entrance room. It's pretty far away. It's a bit of a trek to get there. It's made a little bit more convenient by the fact that we can stay in the dark world to get to it instead of having to jump portals a lot. But it's still a bit of a lengthy trip.
I just barely made it.
That's close. So these light cables, cables? That's not any, light pillars, like a kind of thing that is introduced when you get the light suit, where you stand in one and it teleports you to another place. There's a few of them throughout the game, but this is the only real mandatory one. So now that we're done with Inghive, it's just a case of heading back into a convenient portal and heading back to Temple Grounds, because we're done with key collection now. No, Aegon, we have Aegon. Wait, no, we did Aegon. Yeah, we are done with key collection.
You already did Aegon.
Yeah, we are done with key collection. So we still need to get the 3 temple keys in Temple Grounds. And that's a bit more kind of, I guess, annoying, because they're all in separate parts of Dark Temple Grounds, so you have to kind of go back and forward through different portals quite a bit.
Yeah, the entire Temple Grounds in Dark World is not interconnected like the Light World is, so we had to jump back and forth a little bit.
You can technically get between a couple of the areas from out of bounds, but it's kind of tedious and annoying. And even then, some of the connections don't actually exist in the Dark World. Yeah, this is why I got confused about Eagle. So we're not really doing anything here, just heading straight back to Temple Grounds. This is just the fastest way to get back there. And again, still avoiding the cannons because you want to keep MVI for one phase of the final boss.
Yeah, technically, losing MBI here would be, I think, around 6 seconds faster at first. But, well, there's a part of the final boss coming up that can be pretty annoying without MBI.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah, it's
keeping
just
it.
much more convenient.
See, it's teleporting back to my energy controller now. You'll also see him go to the ground floor and unlock all the teleport doors, translator doors even, so that he can get to each part of Sanctuary Temple Grounds quickly instead of having to go around main Temple Grounds. Because while the 3 main paths are all connected, the routes between them are usually pretty slow and generally not very great to use. So that cutscene's something that triggers after you do something in Temple Grounds, I can't remember what, but since this is the first time you come through that room since, it just triggers on the way out. It's nothing really important though. So that's the first part of the Dark World for Temple Grounds. Like we said, there's going to be 3 of these little mini trips into different rooms. So this room is kind of infamous. This is Accursed Lake.
Shoutouts to QWERTY. He's gonna hate me for that.
Yeah, he definitely is. There's only 2 more trips into the Dark World left. First is for the other Sky Temple key we need, and then the last one, we'll get the last Sky Temple key and head straight to the end of the game from there. Luckily we don't have to go in and back out again to get to the final boss.
So he shoots the portals. He shoots the portal from a fair distance, and then he screw attacks into it. Normally, well, screw attack is a fast way to travel normally, but it also has a bit of an end lag when you land, and that's just a convenient way of sort of canceling the end lag, being able to move fast.
And while Screw Attack is a pretty fast way to travel and Dart Beam travels quite slowly, the distance is enough that you won't hit the portal before the Dart Beam hits.
Right. Yeah, because Dark Beam is sort of a slow beam, it moves very, very slowly.
Yeah.
Normally you're supposed to go all the way around in this room, but there's a very convenient rock you can sort of jump off of.
So there's one more Sky Temple key left, and it's the very last one. So we do have one more trip back through the temple to get to it, just because it's the faster way to go.
I can still hear.
Just about.
So now finally that we have Violet Translator, we can open this Amber Cave.
Yep.
There's a way to skip that gate from out of bounds, right? From the direction you entered, I think? Or maybe I'm thinking of different gate.
You can go out of bounds there.
So the last Sky Temple key is in the room where you start the game. It's the Dark World version of the room you start the game. So he's heading over there now, and then it'll be to the dark version of the room where we got Seeker missiles, which is the entrance to the main kind of final area. The Ing Temple or whatever it's called. I can't remember the name.
Sky Temple?
Oh yeah, Sky
Temple.
Temple. Yeah, of course it is. Sky Temple key. As you're probably noticing, there's also a lot of like super missile doors and Zika missile doors as well, which is why you picked up so many missile expansions throughout the run. Because the missiles are also pretty useful in final bosses, and you want to kind of have a decent stash of them.
Right.
But getting them earlier rather than later makes this kind of trip more convenient. So that's all of the 9 temple keys. So now we can head to the Sky Temple. Nice. So I didn't want to jinx it, but Zika missiles do have a tendency of being inconsistent and missing sometimes, but luckily there aren't any left, so they can't troll us now. So there you go, handed in all the Sky Temple keys, head to the Sky Temple.
So Emperor is sort of an interesting boss. It has 3 forms basically.
Yep.
And they all go down very fast due to various reasons. But it's kind of a cool boss to do fast.
It's a very fun boss casually as well, like even if you don't go fast.
Yeah,
they're
definitely.
They're all pretty interesting phases and some cool attacks. The third phase especially has some really cool stuff. So this is why you need screw attack, getting up here. These screw attack walls is like here in one other place in the entire game or something.
Yeah, it's sort of a secondary function of screw attack that isn't used much.
Yeah. Okay.
So the idea is to get rid of the tentacles with lightning first, and then he can use supers to do a lot of damage to the door. And if he's fast enough, he can do it in 1 round. But it's sort of tricky because you have to avoid the laser, while at the same time the shields sort of spin around, and I think they move back forth a bit. So,
Alright. So this is where Morph Invulnerability is helpful for the last time. Normally all the kind of gas at the bottom hurts you, and it moves up and down throughout this phase, but MBI just completely negates that.
so the idea is you want to spawn the tentacles, you want to spawn as many as possible while you have a power bomb explosion going, and that way you can kill them in 3 or 4 power bombs, I think.
The secondary function as well is that little Ing that are floating around can't hit you because you don't get damage from the area.
Did I then kill that one?
And if he misses one, he can just use 3 bombs. So it's a fairly simple part of the final boss.
Okay, so the third phase, it's not really, well, it takes a lot of damage from screw attack.
So it has a weird little weak point under the actual bar itself.
Yep.
Which
Yeah, you
is
need
weak to screw attack.
You need to screw attack very low to deal damage to it.
Yep. So now there's the escape sequence and then the very final boss, which is Dark Samus 3 and possibly Dark Samus 4, although hopefully we don't see it, I believe. But
Dark Samus is another boss that's absolutely demolished by screw attack. But it's very tricky to be able to set up screw attack before she starts her final phase.
And time is coming up pretty soon.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah.
We'll see. But it's sort of infamous in that it can waste a lot of time if you accidentally start the final form.
Yep.
So he has to wait this attack out, and then as soon as she lands, she turns invisible.
Yep.
And you want to sort of make her do a specific attack and then screw attack through it, dealing as much damage as possible, and then sort of stunning her again with another missile until she's dead.
So if you fire a missile, even if it doesn't necessarily hit her, she stays in place and throws this little shield up, and that you can use that to find where she is and then time your screw attacks to do damage.
No, no.
Dark Samus 4.
Come on.
So that's unfortunate.
Yeah, if she gets to the middle, then she starts this phase. It takes a long time.
Yeah, so you basically have to charge a beam and like catch the phaser shots and then hit her. And this can just take forever because she can just stall out.
But she's already taken a lot of damage, and you wouldn't normally have done this much damage by the time the final form starts.
Also true. But she can wait a long time between those phaser shot attacks, which she wasn't doing.
Also, time comes up when the spot is dead. Just going to be probably on the next shot.
Yeah, it should be.
sometimes when you collect all the face that comes out, you get hit by like alone one of them, and you like drop everything, which is really annoying.
Time. Credits.
That's really good.
So that was Echoes. Hopefully you enjoyed it.
So are we watching the credits? Because the credits in Echoes are really, really
Yeah,
long.
they are like 8 minutes long.
Yeah.
And this run is certainly not PB, so
Well-
yeah, it's not really worth it to watch the credits.
After the credits, you get to know your in-game time, which is what you usually go by in the Metroid Prime games.
Yep.
So that's why you sort of want to stick with them, see what we got.
Unfortunately, in Echoes you can't skip any of the cutscenes or make the credits faster, so it's the longest out of the three.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
yeah.
Prime you can like scroll down the credits, but
Yeah.
in Echoes you can't.
Prime you can scroll faster. Corruption you can skip all the cutscenes, so you get to watch the actual credits.
And so Dark Ace is no more.
Unfortunately, the same can't be said for Dark Souls.